So I came across this beautiful article, The Secret Benefits of Anxiety by Julie Peters. Listen to your anxiety, not for what it's explicitly telling you, but for what it might be distracting you from. It might just have some wisdom to share. Anxiety is one of the most common experiences we have as human beings. It can be a natural reaction to occasional stressful events, but for some of us, it is a constant state. Many think of it as a version of fear, and fear may certainly be present with anxiety. But anxiety is more complicated than that. Anxiety has a few functions that can be helpful to understand. When we understand the anxiety, it can be a teacher. We may be able to soften it a little bit and find out what it's trying to teach us. Anxiety helps us identify our needs. The experience of anxiety tends to be very mental. Thoughts spiral, and we can feel energy move into the hands and head, and sometimes in the stomach and chest. These symptoms can be very intense and demand our full attention. It can sometimes feel like a survival response. Anxiety tells us that there is something we need to pay attention to right now, and that we have to figure out what it is, or our systems feel that we could die. But the function of all of that energy and intensity may actually be about distracting our systems from something deeper. It could be fear, but it could also be anger, grief, or another core emotion. If our system perceives that those core emotions are unsafe or can't be resolved, it will give us anxiety instead, keeping us locked up in a spiraling thoughts so that we don't touch those scarier emotions. For example, anger's function is to signal that our needs are not being met, our boundaries are being crossed, or that an injustice is happening that must be stopped. If your system believes that expressing this anger won't get your needs met on your boundaries respected, or that you could put yourself in danger in some way, it could insist you focus on anxiety instead. If we grew up in a home where expressing emotions was unsafe or useless, never getting us what we needed, we might have learned long ago that there's no point in accessing deep emotions. Anxiety can be a strategy to keep those emotions at bay. In my experience, it's easier to work on discovering what sits beneath the anxiety by enlisting a compassionate witness, like a safe friend or therapist, rather than doing it alone. Sometimes it helps to remind the system that it's okay to feel an emotion and that we don't have to do anything about what we feel until and unless we are sure it's safe to do so. Anxiety has energy. I love the saying that anxiety is just depression that hasn't given up yet. Anxiety and depression are so close in their function, both dissociative, both keep us from feeling deeper emotions, both placing us in a constant state of emotional unsafety. Anxiety puts us too close to the fight or flight survival responses. Depression puts us too close to the freeze or collapse survival responses. In either case, the nervous system is dysregulated and stuck in survival mode. But anxiety has energy and movement. Anxiety can be functional in a world that doesn't have a lot of respect for stillness and slowness. For many people, anxiety has enhanced their function at work, pushing them to work more, try harder, and never settle. Anxiety can come with a general sense that one is not good enough and must work harder to be more worthy of love, belonging, survival, and so on. Depression can feel more like helplessness or hopelessness. One is not good enough, but there's no sense in trying harder as things will never get better. So, despite its bad points, anxiety can feel more empowering for some of us than being stuck in depression, even if the core experience is essentially the same. Anxiety is a signal. The thing to understand about anxiety is that it uses our thoughts. The anxious feeling begins in the body, and the brain helpfully fills in the gaps, often with old core beliefs about how we are not good enough or destined to fail. The thoughts that come with anxiety may or may not have any relationship to reality. I would like to read this again, Masters. The thoughts that come with anxiety may or may not have any real relationship to reality. Anxiety arises because the nervous system has perceived a threat, whether real or illusion. Something is out of balance, but it's not always clear if that something is internal or external, past or present. If we can slow down and get curious about what the anxiety is signaling, we may be able to see beneath its smoke and mirrors and figure out really what's going on. Anxiety is an incredibly uncomfortable state, but like every feeling we have access to, it has a purpose and a meaning. Listen to your anxiety not for what it's explicitly telling you, but for what it might be distracting you from. It might have just some wisdom to share. So I found this perspective a bit interesting, Masters. Usually, when we face these kind of situations wherein we feel anxious, definitely, as they said, it's like spiraling thoughts. We tend to get caught up. Of course, with beautiful practices like meditation and mindfulness, we are able to be in the awareness and try to identify. But sometimes, when we feel that things are going out of our hand, I think reminding us that we need to find why we are feeling a certain way really helps us to go deeper instead of getting completely engrossed in that situation. So, thought of sharing this with you all. Thank you all for listening. If anyone would like to share your experience, meditation, or your perspective, please feel free to share, Masters. Hi, Ram, please.
Thanks a lot, Swapna. Very wonderful meditation. Felt like, not to end and continue. So beautiful. And very interesting topic. Um, the other side of anxieties. Now, life is a constant source of lessons, and life is a constant school, is a school from where we keep on learning. It is not upon that, when we have a higher moments in related to the emotions, but as well we keep on learning even when we have lower emotions, lower level in terms of emotions. Indeed, the lower emotions, when we look back after we pass them off, we realize where the greatest sources of energies thrust in moving on to a different polarity of the emotion. And then that doesn't repeat when we truly learn and move on. So we have to look at life as a source of constant learning. And as we keep on with that tempo, we realize that even the higher peaks of emotions are a great source of learning, just like the lower peaks of emotions. And to have the right company is most important when we are at the lower emotions, and the right company when we know that it is our own self.
Mhm.
And stillness is is the best way to understand greater things, right things. The lower side of the emotions will be very clear what they're trying to teach us. So everything in life has a greater treasure in them, including these lower emotions. Thanks a lot for reminding this today to all of us.
Beautiful summary, Ram. Thank you so much. And yes, as you said, especially with the lower emotions, right? After the situation passes and a certain while, you understand like how much of energy has we've been giving to it. And as you said, like once we get that awareness, like we tend like not to repeat that when we face similar situations later. Thank you. Thank you all for your messages in the chat. Okay, Anuji has a question. Question, is anxiety telling us of real issue or intuition that something is not right, or is it more coming from overthinking? I hope I got this correct. Is anxiety telling us of real issue or intuition that something is not right, or is it more coming from overthinking?
Yeah, so Swapna ji, yeah, thank you for the like beautiful meditation. That was really nice and the wisdom sharing. So my question was like, is when we are anxious, so like sometimes we overthink and then we get anxious. So is that coming from an overthinking of our nature, or is it like when we are anxious there's something not correct somewhere, and that's why our body is giving us anxious emotions, like our intuition is picking up that something probably is not correct somewhere, that's why we are getting anxious, or is it because we are doing a lot of overthinking and that's why like we are also anxious?
So what the author also mentions here, if you, if I'll read that again, because she says that, the thoughts that come with anxiety may or may not have any real relationship to reality. So sometimes a situation could trigger us. Sometimes really we might be in a situation, in a very challenging situation, wherein we are in that anxious state, right? Sometimes it's also when something is not real, as you said, the overthinking might cause that particular emotion to trigger, right? So it could be either case, but what they are saying is, like, it says that something is out of balance. So that is the time that we need to dive deeper, remain still, and try to be in silence and try to figure out, like, what exactly is this, from where exactly is this coming from? Is it like something from the past or the present, or is it something, trying, is it signaling us something? Or if and when you come into that state, you will be able to recognize, like, if it's something that resulted from overthinking. So that way, like, you can work on that's my perspective, Anuji. If anyone would like to add anything, please feel free, masters. Yes, Rashmi ji. Ram, yes, either of you.
Okay, Ramji, you can go ahead and then I'll speak.
It's your turn, Rashmiji, please.
Yeah, please, Rashmi ji.
Thank you, Swapna ji. It was a wonderful meditation and wisdom. Yes, beautifully you have answered to query. I would like to add from the scientific perspective also, like we are, hunter gatherers from our previous. If you see, our biology is made like that, flight and fight mode. Like when uh, wild animals we encounter, then immediately flight or fight mode gets activated, and all hormones gets released so that we run and save ourselves. So that gene still is there with us. So now in modern times, I think it depends on each individual people. So like exam, if it is coming, so there is a certain anxiety to it. So it is valid when you are anxious, your potential. Some people, their potential increases when they are anxious,
Mhm.
you know. But constantly, if you are brooding and thinking, assuming, as you said, when it is not real, it is imaginary, then it will have a bad impact on our health. So, yeah, as Ramji said, sit in silence and observe that anxiety. Is it real or is it my imagination? And can I use this anxiety for my potential or is it unnecessary? I think we need to pause and delineate or discernment, like where it is arising from and why is it beneficial or not, and then try to overcome that. Yeah, the opposite positive things. Yes, everything will be all right and I can do well. You can do. So it's all depends on the situation and the individual, and to understand from where it is arising it, because naturally our body is like that. that flight and fight mode, that hormones will release, but then we need to take a back step and understand. That's my perspective. Hope it will add. Thank you.
Beautiful, Rashmiji. Thank you. Yeah, and I also feel in certain situations like this, um, if we can ask ourselves this question, like, what can we do to make ourselves feel better, right? That also immensely helps from shifting. And I think it immensely helps, especially if this anxiety stems out of overthinking also. So what can I do to make myself feel better? That's something I think will help us, as I said, like, trying to do something creative or different just to shift our attention initially. And if it still persists, then try to go deeper. So yeah, that's what I feel. Ram, please go ahead and add your points.
Yeah, adding on to the beautiful points you both have already shared, as the question came through, an instance had come to my thoughts, which was very recent and might help in this in the answer, adding up on to the answer shared. It can be anything of all the reasons mentioned. It can be anything. Now, only when we notice what is triggering that, it becomes easier and it becomes permanent as well to come out of it. So the recent example that came across was one of my colleagues
Mhm.
had his friend had a thought to sell off his old car, and he thought of selling because couple of dealers he went to fix it, couple of mechanics, they said it's an engine problem, there is no way, better you sell it off soon before it becomes out of service. So just before selling, he came across my colleague, and then he said, this is a nice car, I want to sell it off because of so and so, so and so, so and so. Then he said, hey, leave it to me for a couple of days. And then he realized simply the problem was with one simple valve. And with a 20 euro valve, he had solved the problem. So only when we witness things, we will notice what exactly is the issue. That doesn't mean that all the cars with a similar problem need a valve. Maybe some need something else. So it can be anything, but what is that thing? Is it an intuition? Is it the situation? Is it the thought? Is it an illusion? Is it an assumption? So anything could be the reason. And let's say um, the real essence in that emotion is to understand what exactly it is. And then once you know what exactly it is, sometimes it is trial and error. And sometimes you will be guided to understand what it is. And so you can work on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ram.
Mm,
Yes,
Thank,
Varnaji.
thank you so much. Thank you, Swapna ji. Thank you, Rashmi ji. Thank you, Ram sir. Thank you
That was a
for
very
the
good question,
beautiful,
Varnaji. Yeah.
beautiful wisdom sharing. Thank you so much.
Yes, Varnaji.
Yeah, thank you, Swapnaji. Beautiful topic. Yeah, my perspective is like, sometimes if we cannot control the situation, get into an anxiety state. We want that the situation to occur in certain way, and we are worried that it's going to happen or not. Or if it is not going to happen, then, we don't want that way to happen. So the things that we cannot control, that brings anxiety, or uh, or some situations happened. It is the lesson that we need to learn, but we never learned that way, that one, and it looks new to us. Then also we go into anxiety. So we need to accept that situation. Okay, this is happening, so I need to accept. If we cannot control, then let go. So these are the two main things that usually come into my life and my experience. So I just wanted to share with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Masters, anyone else would like to share your perspective? Thank you all once again for joining today and adding your energies to the group meditation. Vindhyaji, please, you have something to say?
Thank you, Swapna ji. Very nice enlightenment session. And I like the way you were explaining between depression and anxiety, the difference. But when somebody is under that, under the panic attack or depression or whatever it is, when they're going through it, they cannot help themselves, right? It is hard to understand because your body is reacting and you're in that motion. So should they practice? Because even meditation, I have heard that when you're in that fear mode or when you're in that, it just heightens that emotion even more. So what is your suggestion for those?
I mean, definitely we should reach out for help in that case. Like if we feel that things are going out of control, definitely reaching out to people, like be it a therapist or a close friend, because I feel that sometimes when we feel things are out of control and when we discuss this with with others, they might help us give a different perspective of how to look at a particular situation, and that might ease us a bit and help us with the situation. So I feel it's always important that first we try to introspect, and as you mentioned, in that case wherein we are unable to, we should always seek help. Hope that answers, Vindhyaji, or is there anything else that you wanted to?
No, definitely. I think we should seek help. And I had my sister-in-law in mind, and she actually, I think she's in depression. I don't know. We have been trying because she feels threatened, and it's all like you said, it may be imagined or real, and she just imagines, and for her, it's so real that she can't trust anybody, nobody else, and we've been trying, but she doesn't want any treatment because she doesn't think anything is wrong. And it has been going on, but I was just wondering, and I know it is hard. Even in like the psychiatrists, they want them to come to them. So it is a struggle, but
No, I can totally understand the situation. But even in this, like they say, the compassionate witness, right? So somebody with whom they feel very safe, or rather than a psychiatrist, a therapist probably will be able to help. And definitely, of course, like if somebody can help them, make them sit in meditation, that might be a little bit help too. But if they are aligned and if they are willing to do it, but it's always important that in these situations that they tend to talk to someone whom they really trust. I mean, I'm sharing this based on an experience with one of my friends, so that definitely helped her to come out of that situation. And of course, after she realized, like she came into that space wherein she could get some control of herself, and that's when like she tried to take these help from external help from therapists and others. So I feel that is the best route. So it's more important if to first talk to someone whom we trust.
so true. Yeah, definitely. I can suggest that. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. But these are important topics to understand for everyone.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Thank you so much. Masters, anyone else would like to share? Thank you all. See you all in our evening session. Namaste.